Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Cami Crawford. And today we have Chriselle Lim in the building. Chriselle is an influencer, a mom, and the founder of Fleur and Boomo. Chriselle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm such a big fan of you and the pod, and you have a gorgeous smile as you're sitting right in front of me. So I'm just excited to talk all things relationship.
Yes, relationship is the word. But I have been following you for I don't even know how long. Forever. I want to say. It's probably been at least 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've been through it all with me.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So that's why, I mean, when you switched up your content a little bit, I was both shocked and excited for you just to see like this evolution of the woman that you're continuously becoming. But first and foremost, I have to say, you are in your era. I don't want to say revenge era because I feel like revenge era gives the guy too much credit. But we need to come up with a word for that era post breakup when you are like at your most glowing fucking badass point. What is that word?
I don't know what I was actually thinking about that the other day too, because I don't like the sentence revenge era, and I think Emrata says bitch era, which I think is a little better than revenge, but I also think that I'm not a bitch. I think there's still the softness and kindness in me, so I just like to say glow era, right?
I love that. Glow era or soft era, soft life era. You know,
and I think that's one thing that I do want to cover on here, because I think that after going through such hard times, I thought that I would be hardened and more aggressive and a bit more paranoid and not trusting of people, but I've been softer than I've ever been, and that's been a really amazing thing to discover about myself.
Yeah. Well, you've always been a person who you put so much of your life out there. I mean, like I said, I've been following you, so I've seen you. You've taken us to fashion shows. We've been to Fashion Week together. We've been to all of these beauty trips and all these amazing things that you've done, on top of having 2 daughters who are so cute.
Thank you.
How old are they?
They are 8 and 4 now, so preteen.
Yeah. So I think I maybe started following you when you were pregnant.
Yeah, girl.
Crazy.
We've been through it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't even know who I am. Just some crazy woman that's been following you forever.
No, and that's the beauty about the internet. I think it's a tricky platform because you want to present yourself in the most authentic way possible to your followers, especially if you're kind of taking them on a journey with you. But I've also learned that it's okay to keep some things for yourself, and I learned that the hard way. So.
Yeah. That's the difficult part too. I mean, when you are in a position where you have a following, people expect a lot from you.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people, obviously, as public people, we love our fan base, we love our supporters, you love your followers, but at the same time, I think that when you are a public person, people expect you to give them every single last drop of yourself.
I mean, how do you handle it? Because you kind of put yourself out there as well.
I'm trying to figure it out right now, actually. I'm like in a very transitional phase in my life where I'm the most public that I've ever been as far as like being more recognizable than ever.
Right.
And it's a struggle because I'm a person who I love like going to the mall by myself. I like going to the movies by myself sometimes. I like doing things alone. And now I don't like it as much as I used to because of the level of anxiety. And, I used to be a person who would just post things at the drop, like, oh, this is pissing me off. Let me post it. Let me talk about it on social. And now if I do that, it ends up in an article somewhere. That's fucking weird. Or you get canceled.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't, it's hard to find a balance between sharing it all and keeping some things for yourself.
Agreed.
How do you decide and decipher like which things you're going to share and which things you're going to keep for you?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, and I think I was one of the first of my generation, and actually I was the first generation of influencers to really come up in this digital era. And so I was probably the first one out of my peers to have kids, right? And so we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just kind of posting our life day by day, not really thinking ahead of the outcome or the things that we might need to figure out 5, 10 years from now. And I'm
Right.
there right now. So I did, starting off, for those of you that don't know, in the early days, I started off in college. I shared my life. I shared my boyfriend. I shared when I got engaged, and I shared getting married, and then I shared giving birth. And then once I got there, I was like, holy crap, everyone knows everything about me, right? And you can't really dial it back at that point
No, because
without
people follow up.
right.
They're like, whatever happened to your daughter's runny nose? Did you end up using this? Did you end up using that?
Exactly. And at the time, I was annoyed and mad about that. But I realized that it was my fault because it's just like watching a movie, right? You watch a movie up until the end and you don't get to see the end. And you're just mad at that point. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Where was the end?
I wasted my time following
Yeah.
and supporting this movie, and I don't even get to see the end. And so when I understood that, I was like, okay, my life is on public display. I'm the one who put it out there. So people naturally, they want to see what's next.
Yeah.
And so at some point, and for me, the point was when I was going through my divorce, I had to draw the line. And I was like, my happiness, my sanity, my family unit is more important than if people are mad or not. And they
Yeah.
were mad for about 2 years because I just stopped posting. And I still posted things because I had to continue my business. But I stopped posting things, anything personal. My fan base, my followers wasn't able to see my kids for about 2 years. And so there was a lot of question marks. And I just had to mute everyone out. But now that I'm on the other side, and I've learned in hindsight what I did before and what I want to do moving forward, is that what you value most is what you should protect the most, right? And for me right now, that is my personal life, my dating life, and my kids. So not that I completely don't show my kids anymore, but it's a treat when they get to see them.
Yeah.
It's the dessert at the end if they get to see them. Sometimes you don't get dessert at the end, right? And so I've shifted that to now, if they get to see them, they are excited and they're thankful to see them. But before, they felt they were entitled and
Yeah.
obligated. So it's really up to us as a creators to kind of put those boundaries around what is the most important and what you want to protect the most.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
That's such good advice. You were separated or going through the divorce for a year and a half or 2 years before you actually announced it. And then you announce it. What was the feedback? What was that like?
Yeah. So the image that I portrayed on my social pre-divorce was very much strong businesswoman with a beautiful, amazing family unit. That was kind of the image that I constantly put out there. Not saying that our family was not a beautiful unit. There were many beautiful moments together that I still miss till this day. But there were a lot of underlying issues and problems that I would never share on social, that no one is entitled to know, and that I kept for myself and my partner at the time. And I was dealing with that for years, many, many years. And I think what most people don't realize, especially as a woman, once you made a decision to separate or walk away or get the divorce, you've marinated and you thought about this long before you actually made the decision.
Oh, yeah. The breakup happens like emotionally for years, I think, before you actually make the decision, especially if
Exactly.
you're in a long relationship.
Exactly. But I am not the one to give up. So I kept giving myself another year. Like, let's push it further another year. I'm going to give it my all for another year. And let's see if we could make things better. Okay, another year. It's not going. And then it just kept happening. And at one point, it was my birthday 2 years ago. I said, actually, sorry, my birthday 3 years ago. And I said, so 2020, I said, I'm going to give myself, I swear on my kids, on my family, on God, I'm going to give myself 1 more year. No more, 1 more year. And I actually recorded myself crying, and not to post, obviously, but just for myself to remember how I felt and the promise that I made myself 3 years ago. And so, and it was an easy date because it was on my birthday.
Yeah.
And so when a year passed by, so April of 2021, and things were just not in a place that were any better than before, that's when I was like, okay, I made myself this promise. I watched the video and I was like, I made myself this promise. So, I have to do this for me. I've already given it my all. I have nothing else to give. I already know if I keep pushing and keep delaying this, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was April of 2021, so a little over 2 years ago, where I said, enough is enough. This is it. Like, this is the decision that I had to make. And it was the hardest and scariest decision that I've ever had to make. And so when people ask me, how was it when you actually had to make that decision? I said the decision was already made many years ago. It was the actual follow-up and what I knew I had to do, which was the actual hardest part, right? And so not saying that it wasn't emotional at that time, because it was still relatively emotional, but I've been hurt and it was emotional for so many years.
Right.
And so when I made that announcement, I made an announcement a year after I decided to walk away from my marriage. And keep in mind that was 4 years after I already made in my mind.
Yes.
It was freeing for me. It was a moment of, wow, I get to share this kind of experience with the world that I've been keeping under the rocks for so long. And not the gossipy part, not like who did what and da-da-da-da.
Right.
Because there's always those people that are so curious. But it's more about like, no, this is the next level for me. This is just an announcement to share with you guys that I am ready for the next chapter. And so even though the audience did not see it coming, or the followers did not see it coming, we actually, so my partner then and I, we both decided to turn the comments off because we just knew that there's going to be a lot of, noise.
There's always, I don't know why, because your ex-husband has Instagram also.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of the people who follow him because they were following you.
Right.
When I got out of my last relationship, which was 5 years long, it felt like a marriage almost, people were in his comments and in his DMs like, what did you do to her? Fuck you. I'm going to fucking, like, what? But you don't even know the context of what actually happened. Now, were they right to say that? Yeah. But, at the time, it's like when two people have made an adult decision, it should be respected by the people who follow you too. But of course, you have so many supporters that want answers, but also want to support you. But supporting you doesn't necessarily mean, bashing your children's father on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So I just didn't want to hear any of that noise because naturally my followers are very supportive of me, and I just didn't want to hear any negative or nasty comments to him or anything gossipy.
Or even though we loved you together. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I still get that. I'm like, come on, guys.
Like, I loved us together too at one point.
Exactly.
Obviously, there's a reason.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess to go back to your question is that when we made that announcement, it felt right. It felt good. I was ready for that. But it took time. But people didn't see that all the back work, all the heartache before that. But that's the reality of breakups, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's so much thought and so much, that goes into before someone announces it.
Yeah, especially for women. I think, I don't know what men do when they make any decisions, but for women, like we do consider all of the things because, and especially in your position, you have 2 kids. And I heard you say on your podcast that, a lot of times people say that they're going to stay in relationships for the children.
Yeah.
Was that what had you holding on for longer than you thought that you would?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think given kind of our situation, we both wanted a family unit. No one gets married to get divorced. That's a fact, right? Yeah. And so I think we're both fighting for that, even though we both knew that it just wasn't working. And I think we're fighting more for it because we had the girls. And I think coming from a very traditional Asian household, both him and I, divorce was really not an option. Even if it was an option, it wasn't really talked about. And so we thought that we were doing maybe something wrong or bad for the kids because we didn't really have anyone to look up to that had a successful divorce or that had a successful co-parenting relationship. Do I now? Yes, absolutely. I think we've come a long ways to kind of modernize the word divorce and do it in a healthier way. But yeah, we didn't have those examples, so we didn't know if that was possible. So we were trying to hold on to something that was, really not working for a long time.
Yeah, I think culture plays such a big role in these conversations. My family's from Jamaica, and you just don't, divorce is not, it's never an option.
No.
Like, it's never on the table. It's like you pray about it, go to church, ask God to reveal what you're supposed to do, or, not even therapy is really talked about.
Yeah.
Like going to therapy or going to couples therapy.
Same.
But it's like, how the fuck do you expect for people to work it out? Like, how are you supposed to work through? God is just supposed to come and like be your marriage counselor? That's not, it's just not realistic because there could be deeper issues that need to be discussed and need, some kind of navigation point to figure out how to even communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And I love that, when you finally, were making the decision and you needed support, your family really rallied around you. And you say that your mom like nourished you back to health. All that food, first of all, looked amazing. But I know from, experience going through a really difficult breakup and not even close to divorce, but just that experience, you stop eating, you stop
taking care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine having kids on top of that. You have to take care of them, but you don't really have to take care of you. So to have family surrounding you and your best friend and just people who are there for you.
Yeah. No, it really, for me, when I think of my divorce, now that I'm on the other side, I would describe it as beautiful and almost a union in the community, really, because I always say people come together, the community comes together for the birth of a child. They come together when two people get married, when someone dies at a funeral. This is literally a death of a marriage, right? A death of a relationship. It's a funeral, basically. And so why do people think that they have to suffer alone in this? Right. No, this is when you actually need the most support. And that was actually the hardest part for me because I'm a stubborn-ass Aries.
I was going to say, when you said your birthday was in April, I was like, Aries or Taurus? I was like, she's got to be an Aries. She's so badass like this. She has to be.
And I'm the type of person that... What sign are you, by the way?
Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know many Scorpios, actually. Ooh.
Welcome.
Ooh.
Welcome to death row. No, my boyfriend's an Aries. My mom's an Aries. My sister's an Aries.
Okay, so I could be a part of the clique,
exactly.
part of the fam.
I love an Aries woman.
Okay, amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, the Aries in me was like, I don't need anyone. I got this.
Yeah.
I could prove that I could get this through myself. I am strong enough. I am a fighter. I'm a warrior. And I am. And I knew I could get that. I could get up back on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was saying in the beginning, I didn't realize how soft I was inside and how this divorce would actually soften my heart because the amount of love that was poured into me during the hardest time when I couldn't even get out of bed or, oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
Because that's when you need the support. And so my sister flew in from New York like every week just to make sure I was okay. And, my best friends, they would just show up at my door with breakfast. And my mom, she would just literally cook me breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between. She would literally like hand feed me because I just couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I remember about my divorce is just the community. And I think because I had to open up my heart to people and allow so much support and help. I've never gotten this much support and help in my life, even after I gave birth. I was like, I got this. I'm going to get back to work. I could do this. And I did that with both kids.
Yeah.
But this time I physically couldn't do anything on my own. And so I think it was the moment where I had to open up my heart the most. And it softened me. And it just made me a more appreciative, more kinder, more empathetic human Thank you. She's passing me tissues
Girl.
as
Crying is a part of the Scorpio experience.
I feel like Aries too. I think,
Yeah.
we don't show it, but there's a softness in us that we all have.
It's
So,
true.
yeah, I have to say that through my divorce, even though it was tough, the moments that like I get flashbacks on is just like people being there for me. And my parents, they actually moved down from the Bay Area to LA to just live with me and help me raise my girls with me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so it's community. And I know that not everyone has access to parents like that or has access to best friends or a sister or community, but I think just allowing yourself to be vulnerable is the biggest lesson here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, could we all get through most of our hardships alone? Probably. Do
Yeah.
we have to? No.
No.
Like, there's no reason to have to suffer in silence. There's no reason to have to struggle by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I'm hard-headed too. Scorpions, they withstand natural disasters like since the dinosaur age, like we can make it through.
Yeah.
But do I have to is the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that too as I'm getting older. It's like that support, it's monumental. It's a make or break, honestly, to
It is.
the longevity of your healing, but also the pace at which it happens.
Yeah. I would say that the pace happened a lot faster because I was able to find moments of bliss in between. My friends would make me laugh, or my mom would just like make me feel really good and like at home and at ease. And I know that the girls are happy because they're with their grandparents. Or so the pace happened a lot faster than if I was to do it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure too for your followers, like the grieving process of a breakup takes a long time. If people are rational about things and think
Yeah.
about their own breakup stories, like it doesn't happen overnight. It takes
No.
a long time. But what I've loved seeing with your content now is your fashion, sis. You are like busting out. These dresses, the cutouts, just like the looks, it feels like you are, I don't want to say like rebranding yourself, but like coming into yourself almost.
I love that.
I love watching it. It just feels like you were doing your rich mom content. This is like hot mom content. This is MILF content that you're giving. I love it. Was it like, did you think about, sometimes in relationships you're like, oh, I don't want to wear this because I don't want to upset my partner or whatever. Like, was this always your vibe, or did you have like a come to Jesus, like I'm going to wear what the fuck I want?
I don't know if it was always my vibe. I always wanted to be hot when I was younger.
You were always hot, first of all, but you were like, you were always rich mom. Like you
Yeah.
gave like wealth, class, and you still give class.
Yeah.
But with a side of ass, and I love it.
I love that. Class with the side of ass.
Yes,
I don't have much of an ass, but I'll take it.
it's there. It's there.
So I think it came with the confidence that I built. And I think it goes hand in hand with your mental well-being and your mental confidence and your emotional confidence that also eventually reflects outwardly, whether it be how you dress, how you look, whatever that is. And I think when I was getting on social, which was almost 15 years ago, I've always tried to be this fashion girl. Like that was always my aspiration. I was a broke college girl, and my whole ideation of like a successful fashion girl is a rich, classy girl, right? So I became that person because I thought that's what fashion was. And so I wanted to become that person that I wasn't. I was a broke college student. And so I always say dress for who you want to be. And so I think naturally as I was dressing to be this kind of successful, wealthy fashion girl, that also was a coming up of my brand as well, and the start of the digital kind of social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that, right? And I think you just slowly start branding yourself in a certain way. And you feel like you kind of have to stick with that without even realizing that you had to stick with it. You kind of go with what you know, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I knew back then. I thought that I felt the most confident in big twirly dresses and gowns and classy white suits, which are still beautiful, right? And I would still look at them and be like, oh, that's a beautiful outfit. But that was a reflection of who I wanted to become and who I was and what I wanted to feel. I think that's fashion. Fashion
Yeah.
is, it allows you to feel the way that you want to feel. And I think now I feel the most confident, and people are like, how are you so confident with all the shit that you went through? And I said, I think true confidence comes from just failing and failing forward and not being afraid of trying again. And I think as I start businesses and they fail, and then I start another business and they fail, and then something sticks. Same thing with relationships, right? Like you have a boyfriend, doesn't work. You have another boyfriend, doesn't work. You have a boyfriend, you get married, it doesn't work. And then you just start building this confidence of like, I could handle this.
Yeah.
I'm hot shit. Like
Yeah.
I could handle anything. And I think that's a reflection of how I feel now. It's like I feel hot and I feel sexy because I could handle anything. Like bring it on, right?
Yes.
And I'm in all black usually. I don't know. Maybe it's my dark era. Like,
Yes.
right? My glow and dark era,
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so, who knows? Maybe my next era is back in all beautiful gowns. But I don't plan. I never planned on being like, oh, I'm gonna be dressing sexy for revenge.
Yeah.
But it's generally how I feel right now. And maybe the next chapter, I will feel like I want to dress more elegant and classy and sophisticated, and I don't know what do they call it, quiet luxury or whatever that is, right? But yeah, I think it wasn't intentional. But as I start seeing the trends on the runway, because I'm at every fashion week, it also happened that these past few seasons, you just saw a lot of sexy gowns, a lot of
Yeah.
sexy cutouts. And when I see these pieces on the runway, I'm like, oh, I could see myself in that. Like that's what I tell myself, and I just kind of follow the direction of what I'm vibing at that moment.
Yeah.
And this is my current vibe.
I love it. I love the vibe.
And I feel good, right?
Yeah, you should. I
Yeah.
think that there's so much to be said. Like after a breakup, the first thing a girl does is change her hair. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Most
you
people
gotta
chop it
change
off. I went long.
Yes, exactly. You got to do something. If it's the color, if it's the length, whatever it is, you got to do something. I
Yeah.
went and got highlights. The day that like I emerged from my sorrow, like my dark little hole where I was just sobbing every day and not eating, I emerged and I was like, I'm booking a hair appointment. I don't know why we're like that.
You-
so
I know, it's funny because I don't know if guys do that.
I don't know
Girls
what they
definitely do that.
we do that.
I think there's something about a physical change up
Yeah.
allows you to mentally transition. I don't know. There's something that ties together there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Because I went out that night. I was like, oh,
Oh.
I'm back. I'm back. But fashion can do the same thing too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once you start putting on clothes and you start dressing for how you feel, because we dress how we feel when we're sad.
Oh, yeah. In
For sure.
Sweats.
Yeah. All the time. I mean, I do wear sweats when I'm
Big
happy too
t-shirts.
sometimes, but when I'm sad, everything has to be loose. Everything has to be like I don't want to feel the clothes.
Yeah.
But when I'm feeling hot and when I'm feeling like I'm owning my shit,
Yeah.
that's a completely different story.
Mm.
Everything can be tight. Things can be so cinched that I can't even fucking breathe, and I will be happy because I know I look good.
Yes. And see that's where what I'm trying to get at is that your mental wellness, it ties into how you feel, how you dress, everything, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important to be mentally well
Right.
because even if you're mentally not well and you're in a hot ass outfit and you're just not going to feel it.
Exactly.
Like the amount of times that you're just like, you probably looked hot, but you're just like, I feel like shit. I want to go home.
Yeah.
I want to wear something loose, whatever that is.
Right.
So it's all up here. It's all in the head. And so I think that's where it is for me. It's like, I want to wear cutouts. I want to wear crop tops. I feel good in my head. I feel good in my skin.
Yeah.
And people can sense that. They could see that. it's a vibe, it's an energy, right?
It's an energy.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to dig up into your dating tea, but I'm assuming that you are open to dating.
Mm-hmm. I am.
And while being open to dating, I'm not going to ask you if you're currently dating unless you want to tell me.
I am seeing someone. Yeah, I am seeing someone.
Ooh! Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, so all I want to know is how are you dating differently than you were before?
Yeah.
Because times have changed. Everything is so different now. I feel like
Yeah.
after I got out of my last relationship, I was like, dating apps? Like, what the fuck? When did these become a thing? But then I ended up
Yeah.
meeting my boyfriend on one.
I know. I mean, I can't even imagine doing that. That has to be just a different mindset. I mean, my
Oh, yeah.
sister met her husband on a dating app. Like, I know there is a success rate there.
Yeah.
But it's a commitment. Like, you have to make it like a part-time job type of thing
Yeah.
to make it work. And for me, I'm like, I'm not that serious. I'd rather be alone, to be honest. Like, I have no problem being alone.
Yes.
So if it takes that much work,
Yeah.
I probably will be better off as a single mom.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, so I'm a lot more intentional. I think when I got married and when I met my ex, I was young. I was in college. I pretty much followed the rule book and the guideline of what you're supposed to do. You get married at a certain age, then you have kids, and then you buy the house, and then you buy the next house, and it just you just do these things because you feel like you have to do them.
Yeah.
And now I have no rule book. I broke the rule book, right? I'm like, I'm 38. I'm a single mom. I truly don't need anything from anybody. I don't need money. I'm successful. I have my own money. I don't need kids. And that is a blessing for me because the amount of girlfriends I know that are divorced or that are single that are just looking for a mate or a partner to have kids.
Yeah.
And that's not a healthy place to be either, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're just looking for a baby daddy at the end of
Yeah.
the day, not a true partner or a
Right.
companion, right? So I don't need kids from anyone. I already have that. And by the way, I'm done having kids. I'm done. So that's another
Gasp.
requirement. If the man wants to have kids, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The shop is closed.
Yes.
And also, I don't need success. I already have my own success, so I don't need to like look for a successful man. And so when you take all these factors of what you think you should look for in a man or in a partner, because I think we're all a little brainwashed to be like, this is the type of guy I like. He has to make this amount of money. He has to do this for a career. He has to have a house. Da, 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 da. And
Yeah.
the list goes on and on, especially as you get older, right? That list just continues to grow.
Right.
But I don't have that list at all. So now what I look at is just pure companionship. And I think that's actually very, very rare. It's not
Yeah.
hard to find. It is out there, but I think we all get so caught up with I should be looking for this or I have to look for a person like this.
Right.
And so now it's just what is he adding into my life that makes it pure pleasure, enjoyment, a good partnership, a healthy partnership,
Right.
because I have everything else that I need. And when you have those things, then you're able to see very clearly if that person is adding value into your life or not. Because there's really only one thing that he needs to bring,
Yeah.
really. It's just companionship.
Right. Oh, that's so true. I
Yeah.
think back in the day, you know, our parents, our grandparents, people married out of necessity,
Necessity,
for,
yes.
you know, growth, for financial growth or, you know, safety or whatever. Now we don't have to do that.
No.
But like we still, you know, millennials like still have that in our brains of needing to date for that
Yes.
instead of dating for or marrying for or having companions for just joy and someone who makes us happy and someone who makes us feel safe and comforted in a different kind of way.
Yeah. And so I never thought ever in my kind of relationship or what I thought would be a successful relationship, the top thing that I would ever prioritize is just joy and happiness. Because to me that felt childish and that felt kind of duh,
Yeah.
right? Like, no shit.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
But if you actually think about like what truly makes you happy, like what makes you tick, what gets you super excited, and not saying that with that partner you won't have hard times. There naturally will be hard times and arguments like any other couple.
Right.
But then you could really prioritize what is the most important to you, and everything else can just fall by the wayside, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest difference now is that I'm able to think for myself, and I'm able to just be very clear on what I want and not what I think everyone else or what I should be doing because society or my family or my parents says that is the right thing to do. And by the way, there's no right thing at all.
Yeah. The right thing
Yeah.
is whatever you decide to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been
Exactly.
leaning into that lately. Like whatever is right is the decision that you made.
Yeah, and families are. I'm looking at the modern family now, right? Because my girls are in grade school. My oldest daughter is in grade school now. And the families just look so different now, right? Which
Yeah.
is so beautiful because it's really easy for me to explain to her, like, your dad and I are divorced, and yeah, we don't live in the same household. But she has like 5 other kids in her house that has the same situation, or in her class. that has
school,
same,
yeah.
And so she's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And then her best friend has 2 dads, right? And so she's like, oh, yeah, this girl, like, Gracie, like, she has 2 dads. And
Yeah.
I'm like, who comes from Mother's Day? They're like, she's like, but they both do. So it just, it looks so different now. Interracial families, interracial marriages, like, all of that were big no-nos
Yeah.
back in the day,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
But now it's like everything is blended. Everything looks so different. And I think that's beautiful. And that's what I try to teach my girls is there's no one way to raise a family. There's no one family that looks the same. We all have different situations. And it's been relatively actually quite easy for them to understand that because of diversity of her classmates in the school. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. I love how times change. Thank God.
Thank God.
We
Thank
can't keep
God.
living how we were living. Just because we were doing it doesn't make it right or,
No.
normal. It shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be.
No.
That's for sure.
Well, I have so many questions and I just want to talk to you all day. This is what happens when I link up with an Aries. Ugh. But we have people that want some advice
Okay.
from you
let's do
about
it.
what to do because you've done it. I mean, I don't want to say flawlessly because of course there's bumps in the road that people will never see, but you make it look pretty damn good, girl. So help our people out.
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
I'm here to help.
Hi, Cami. First of all, I love your show. And I'm super excited that you are on Are You the One? You're hosting that because I love that show. I think my situation is a bit unique, but maybe not. I feel like I mourned my relationship while I was still in it. And when we broke up like 6 months ago, I kind of felt like I was straight into the healing process and I kind of healed pretty quickly. So I'm in a unique situation where we were married and we're separated and going through divorce, and I kind of want to start dating again, but it's kind of difficult because of the whole situation. And it's so ghetto out there right now as well,
True.
in the dating world. So I'm just kind of stuck in that kind of limbo of, should I even be dating because it's been so soon? Should I even be dating because I am in a separation? Am I really actually healed, or am I like kind of making that up in my head because of all the shit that I went through towards the end of my relationship? So I'm just I feel like I'm stuck in limbo there, and could use some advice.
I
So
feel like
thank you.
I feel like we were just talking about this,
Yeah.
like as if she was listening
Right.
before we played this voice message. But you know what's funny? As I was listening to her talk, I was going through the exact same thing. And I don't know about you. I would love to hear your thoughts as well. But I think there's like this idea of there's a certain amount of time that you have to let pass by before you're out dating again, so you don't feel guilty or
Yeah.
you feel like, you're not a player or you just moved on too quick. But I'm here to kind of bash that because there's really no time. Everyone has a different time frame of healing, right?
Yes.
So if you're some people are way faster than others. There are people that will take years to grieve and they just won't get over it for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that will heal within months,
Yeah.
weeks. So everyone is different. And so I think to each their own of like when you want to start dating. And that was actually one of the biggest things because as I mentioned, as she mentioned, I healed before.
Exactly.
Or not healed, but I accepted it before.
Yeah, you were starting the process already.
Yeah, years before. And so I was actually open to dating for a while, but I was denying it because I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to be like, oh no, I'm not ready. I don't think I'm ready.
Yeah.
But what I was really feeling was, no, I feel great. Like I have come to acceptance that this is my situation. I feel good. I feel healed. And so when you start doubting yourself, like, am I actually healed? I don't know. I was going through that too.
Yeah.
But it's a feeling that you feel. And when you feel that and you feel like you're ready to start dating, then most likely you're ready.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
I
don't know
my
about
therapist,
you.
I asked my therapist the exact same thing after my last relationship ended. I was like, I don't know. Like, should I get on an app? What should I do? I don't know. My assistant, who was 22 at the time, was like, you need to get on Raya. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, everything's just seems so crazy.
Yeah.
But I had already started the grieving process 2 years before that relationship ended. So by the time it was over and I took about 2 solid weeks to just like weep when I then got my highlights and went out that night, I was ready.
You were ready.
Like I would have been ready to meet someone. I made the decision for myself.
Right.
I said I wanted to be single for at least a year, only because in the past I've always gone from long relationship to long relationship. And not because I'm like, people will be like, oh, you just hopped from one relationship to another. No, the relationship ended. I met someone who made me happy and I got into a new relationship.
Right.
That was my past. But for this period before I met my boyfriend now, I was like, I want to be single for a year just so I can experience it. And I remember I had met my boyfriend on Raya the first day I got on Raya.
Oh, so you did do the dating app.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
If you want to get on, that's the one I recommend. And when I met him, we started dating. We started becoming serious. I could feel that like this. I knew from the second that I met him that this was a person that I wanted to have in my life for a long time.
Right.
And then as we started dating, I was like, oh, this is my husband. Like, this is going to be my husband. And I knew that it was coming, that he was going to ask me to be his girlfriend. And I remember telling my trainer, Six, who's been on the podcast a few times, I was like, but it hasn't been a year. I haven't been single for a year. It's only been like 10 months. And he was like, okay. He was like, so let me get this straight. You made a rule for yourself that you were going to be single for a year. This is a rule that you made to yourself. Nobody's like holding a gun to your head and telling you that you have to do this. This is just you. And you're going to miss out on a real relationship. Like when he asked you to be his girlfriend, you're going to say no because you made this quote unquote promise to yourself. He's like, you make promises to yourself every day. You say, I'm not going to eat cake for a week. And then you go and you eat a slice of cake. You break promises. You make and break promises to yourself every day. Don't let this be the one that you decide like this is the hill that you're going to die on and miss out on somebody really amazing for you.
Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know.
Why? I feel like women do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we don't want, I think for me, what I discovered was I didn't want for it not to work out and for me to have regrets and be like, damn, if I would have just waited that full year, maybe things would have turned out differently or whatever. It's bullshit. It's all made. Time is literally made up.
It's made up.
Who cares? Do what you feel. Dress how you feel. Like date how you feel. Do things that make you happy.
Yeah, and this actually brings me to like something that I was dealing with as well. It's like I feel like people have this notion of like I need to be fully okay and fully healed until I can do X, Y, and Z. In this case, dating, right? But what I've learned is that no, you don't have to be fully anything. You could still be healing you could live in duality. You can still have an open heart, but also still be cautious. You could still be hard but soft. You could still, the beautiful thing about what I've learned and what I've become, this person I am today, is that life is duality. It's all about joy and pain living together, right? It's all about learning about yourself while you're still healing yourself.
Yes.
And so if that person brings you joy, this new man or woman brings you joy in your life at this time, but you're still healing, that's okay too, right? And you don't have to punish yourself to not live life until you're fully healed or until you're fully complete, because there's no such thing as complete. You're ever growing and you're always becoming something, right? Becoming into something. And so I don't think anything should really stop you. And also, I think this would be a good way to end, because I know we're past our time. But I think that, oh God, I forgot now. Fuck. It was really good, guys.
Well,
this is what happens when like you have like a million things and you're vibing and you're like, you want to be present, but you have like so many thoughts.
No, it's so true.
Oh, okay. I remember now. Okay. So also not to be so obsessed with and not holding on to anything so tightly, whether it's your kids, your relationship, your marriage, whatever that looks like, because everything serves its purpose at the moment. If it doesn't work out, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, we all go through the pain and we have to go through the healing and the grieving process. But my marriage served me at that moment. And it was beautiful at the time because it was a beautiful marriage at the time, right? And so, yes, it's easy to be like, oh, no, it was a failure. It didn't work out. But it was great at the time, right?
Yeah.
And it worked, and it served me. We have kids. We built a life together, and that was serving me at the time. My relationship now serves me at this time. Do you hope that it will last for a long time? Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But you can't hold on to things so tightly, because then it just becomes too, I don't know, even with kids, right? Like, and this is what I always tell parents, because parents become so obsessed with their kids and like getting into kids into a certain school or getting your kids to do X, Y, and Z activity or a certain grade. I'm like, you guys, your kids will disappoint you at some point. Your kids will leave you. They will do things eventually that you're not going to approve.
Yeah.
And you are setting yourself up for heartbreak. And so you don't want to ride the highs to highs and the lows to lows. You just want to cruise in the middle. And so not living life where you're like suffocating the person that you love or that relationship that you want to make sure that it works out. You just kind of allow it to be and be present and just be grateful for what you have. Like if this relationship that I'm in currently like doesn't work out, I'll be sad, absolutely. But it absolutely served me for many reasons, right? And it helped me heal too.
Yeah, right.
And
exactly.
so it's beautiful for that reason.
Yeah. I think when you hold on to something so tightly, you don't leave
Yeah.
room for change and growth and evolution of that, whatever that thing is,
Yeah.
which is inevitable.
Inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was so lovely.
So
Thank you
good.
so much for coming on. Tell everyone where they can find you if you're not following her already, because you have a bajillion followers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. You can
course.
find me at Cryselle Lim on Insta and TikTok. I have a fragrance line called Fleur, PHLUR. You can find that on Instagram and TikTok as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Cryselle.
Thank
this was
you.
amazing. I feel like this could be a 2-hour episode if we let
I know.
it.
I mean, we should probably do a part 2 at
Yeah,
this point.
we'll do a part 2. We'll come back for part 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm Cami Crawford, host of the Relationship Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more videos, click below to subscribe and like this video for more Dear Media content. So shut up and listen.